As an employer, you can receive $75 a week over a 17-week period to give him work experience. He has had 2 years experience as a bricklayer's labourer and has had some farm and factory experience as well. This job seeker has DLI tickets for front-end loader and back loader, as well as having a Class 3 driver's licence. He's had a lot of
going there, love.
bushwork.
Oh, yeah. Have a nice day.
It is a bit hard to realise that you're 30-odd years old and possibly no future.
Casual cook.
Letterbox deliveries. Wanted boy or girl over the age of 18.
So, at the show, that's it.
Well, I wouldn't say sacked. In my opinion, I like the word redundant better than being sacked because I don't think I was sacked.
We learnt about 3 o'clock on the week before we were laid off that the factory was closing down. We were called in about 10 to 3 to a meeting, and General Manager from Sydney came down and just put it straight to us. You could have heard a pin drop into place when the bloke put the announcement over.
I even shedded a couple of tears when I told my wife that afternoon when she came to pick me up.
Well, the day that they give us our notice to say that our portion of the factory would be closing down, it came as a shock. It was the only job that I knew. I don't know how to do anything else as a trade. Haven't got no tickets to do anything else. I didn't know what it was like to go out into the world and look for a job after 15 and a half years.
Politicians and economists will tell you that unemployment is an economic disease. But when you talk with the unemployed, you soon learn that it's firstly a social disease. Phil, Tony and Bruce, for example, belong to the last handful of skilled glassblowers in Australia. Theirs is a skill handed down and honed over thousands of years. Now they are unemployed, and having no other experience, they can't even compete with the unskilled for jobs like cleaning or labouring. But these men have a gift which goes beyond their skills. They have a dream. Stay together, form a cooperative, defy the recession and the cheap imports, keep their craft alive, and be proud again of their skills. It's a great dream, but the journey between ambition and reality is a minefield.
Good one, Elvis. There are you, lonesome tonight. This is 2HD at 7:21. Just reading here, onions were a popular aphrodisiac back in
Most of the unemployed we approached for this story declined to be filmed. The basic reason was shame. When you want to work and can't, it's easy to blame yourself. It's easy to worry about what the neighbours will think. Phil and his friends had their doubts too, but they agreed to be in it because of their fight for a cooperative.
You said you're now living on one wage, which is your wife's. Can you live on that?
Well, the bank balance is taking a bit of a beating from the redundancy money. I think only because we paid most of the bills out. You miss being able to just drop in somewhere and get a packet of smokes or drop in and get a Coke. Every bit of money you got, you've got to ask the wife for. I mean, she doesn't mind giving it to you. But it's still the fact that you've got to ask her for everything you have.
Phil has extra tensions of his own. He's painfully aware that his wife Marlene is supporting him financially. And because he's taken on the bulk of the co-op work, he can't even attempt to get a job. In addition, Marlene hasn't been confident of his course of action.
It's always been like a partnership where both of us have worked, except for when she had the kids right through the marriage. Now it's gone from me being the breadwinner to me making the bread. You sort of get stages in your life where you say, well, in so many years we'll have our house paid off, or in so many years we'll have our car paid off. And then you're retrenched and you go back, 5 or 6 years to what you were.
How would you react if someone now said to you, if you've been unemployed for 4 or 5 months, it's because you haven't tried hard enough?
I suppose in a way I haven't really been trying hard enough because I've had this other thing on the plate, running around trying to get the co-op set up. 30 to 50 hours a week for that. I could have been pushing for a job. If the co-op didn't work, I'd probably feel a bit guilty from that side of it.
Especially as your wife already thinks that maybe you should have spent more time looking for a job and...
Well, she's getting a little bit insecure with no money coming in, only one wage. And I don't blame her, I can see her point of view.
I don't like to gamble too much. I was thinking, the little bit of money that we had, I would have preferred to save for a rainy day rather than take a gamble and sink it into this business. Yeah, I was a bit dubious about it, but now, I'm all for Phil. Yeah, there's a lot of family stress because of Phil not having his independence anymore. Yeah, as it is now, he hasn't had the time to look for work in any case, Sometimes it's late at night when he gets home and they've been to meetings or Sydney and then he sits here and does sheets and sheets and sheets of paperwork. He's doing things that, well, I really thought he could do, but when you actually see him doing things, you think, gee,
Amazing, he can.
He might have been wasting his time down there all these years. Gosh, it's going to be awful if it doesn't come off.
Well, this is where we used to clock on of a morning at around 6 o'clock. My clock number was 58 for the last 17 and a half years.
It's now 3 months since the men were made redundant, and they come back to their deserted workplace with mixed feelings.
Right, there's nothing left of the place, is there?
And while they would like some of their old, also redundant equipment, their feelings of nostalgia are still unusual in the circumstances.
Christ almighty, there's nothing here. Furnaces would be red hot. There'd be pipes in the furnace heating up. There'd be blokes running around with glass on the end of the pipe everywhere making light shades.
Well, who'd want to work in a job like this for starters? It's hot. Yeah. You sweat, you run. You've got to be crazy to do it.
That's hard work. Very hard work.
And very hot.
I've had something like about 7 collapsed lungs, but I still come back every time well, if there's any chance of getting it going, I'll still be in it.
Something I've had to do for 10 years to learn to get this far. 10 years I could have been a doctor. I'm a glass blower. I'd like to be a glass blower. Satisfaction out of making something that you don't often get.
Whenever you talk with these men, there is always a time when their pride in their work comes through, like this glass car, smashed in the interest of drink driving road safety, but nonetheless a work of art and a proud memory.
I can take it home and say, well, look, that's another thing of art. It's beautiful.
It's pretty satisfying when you go into somewhere and there's a light shade hanging on the roof and you can say to someone that's with you, oh, gee, I might have made that. And you say, oh, gee, that's good.
If you got something in your mind, you could put it to practice, you could do it yourself and make what you wanted to make.
So the only limit is your imagination.
It wasn't just work.
One thing I think the job really did is to trust somebody else.
Yeah.
You can imagine if in the peak of it here, 108 men running around with 4-foot-long pieces of red-hot steel and molten glass on the end of it. You feel that heat on your back, you've got to be confident that person's not going to burn you.
If I was paid for all the jumpers that I'd had holes burnt in, I'd had to be half a salary, I think. I've got a tie at home that's about a foot shorter than it should be, from numerous contact with hot metal and whatnot. Well, the typical example might be when I'm having a look in the furnace. We'll set this one up.
Colin is a chemical engineer who used to be the men's boss and the natural enemy. Now Colin has decided to join them. This time, he'll be an equal.
It's not hard to do. And now that Cole is he's one of the good guys now, yes. Even though he is short.
No one really talked to him as a person. He was just part of the management team.
We were on a production line then. You didn't get the time to say, stop for 5 minutes and explain fully what was wrong. You just turn around and say, straightforward, that's wrong, and in that sort of manner. You had to get it across to him, and he would go away sort of thing. He shouldn't have to speak to me like that, and
it's not hard either, too, as a manager, to pick the wrong time to talk to a fellow at the end of a hot day when he's been on the end of a blow pipe. You walk out of an air-conditioned office and ask him some seemingly stupid question, and he wants to wrap the blow pipe around your ears. It's one of the hardest things for a manager to do, I think, is to fully appreciate what it means to be on the end of a hot blow pipe for a full day or in that sort of a work environment.
I'm very excited about it. I think I'd love to work in the environment that it's going to be in a co-op. It's going to be a totally different work environment in this situation where every decision on a major level you're going to have some say in. Whereas before, as a worker, you were totally ignored.
We'll be working for ourselves. We could be working up to 12, 14 hours a day.
When we were working here, if it was hot, we couldn't change to another job in the factory, or we couldn't come in a shift work, say an afternoon when it was cooler, or a dog watch where it was cooler, and you couldn't stay here, so you lost wages and the company lost production.
We'll be blowing glass, grinding it, packing it, putting it in the truck ourselves.
Even Colify's not busy doing whatever he's supposed to be doing managerial-wise.
That's going to be the big thing about it, everybody being involved in everything, everybody sharing the work.
Well, it's no good going ahead if the feasibility study shows that we can't move what we sell.
So you've got a big crunch day coming up pretty soon?
Yeah, it's going to either bounce us one way or the other. We hope it's forward towards our new setup.
Number 3 tank.
The men need help from Phillips, but already some equipment has been shipped to Taiwan.
It's the best tank out of the 4 that were here, so it was only put in about 2 months before we closed down. We need this tank to set straight up within a month of moving into a new site. If it's not bought by someone, ourselves or someone else, I can't see them using it for anything. They'll just bulldoze it down.
There's nothing it can be used for other
Unless you've got a glass factory.
We need it.
Yeah, without it, I don't think we'll get what we want.
And if something goes wrong, it's going to be a big knockback.
Yeah, we're all going to end up on our ass.
That's right.
Back on the dole line.
Still where we are.
Just the same. It's nothing for anyone over 30. You've got to keep checking just in case something does come up.
The feasibility study is not just a piece of economic advice. It's conducted through the State Workers Cooperative Development Agency. And if they say the co-op is feasible, then that's more than simply saying, yes, it's a good idea. It also means then that the men get access to financial support.
Hello, Mr. Bryan. Bristow agent here. Mate, give me your name and number. Said you might have a vacancy for a process worker.
And as time drags on, and the men grapple with a bewildering host of new ideas, merchandising, costing, marketing, they also agree that in the meantime, they had better try to find jobs.
I don't hold out too much hope for that, but we'll certainly consider you. We'll keep you in mind for the future.
77, 78.
Number 79, number 80, please.
They said, put down, what is your main occupation, what? And I said, well, I don't know any. Beside glass blowing, I said, probably TA work or processing work or labourer work. And they said, put down glass blower first off. I got no chance of getting a job. I said, my file will just stay in there all the time with glass blower written on it. And I'll be at the bottom of the list all the time. And I said, I'd rather you put down TA work or process work or labouring.
Good on, take a seat.
Bruce
John Griffith. Bruce.
Agent.
Have you done this type of work before? You've
No.
read the job description up on the board, have you?
No, I haven't. All I've done is glass blown. I haven't did anything else.
What I think we'll do is we'll ring up the employer, explain that we've got you here, and find out would he be interested in seeing you for a further interview.
Thank you, Dad.
Good afternoon. Could I speak to Mr. Brown, please? Thank you.
You do feel downgraded if you are unemployed. Any job, as long as you're working, then you can come up to the same level as everyone else. They're working and you're not. You like to get back up to that level of having a job.
Yes, I've got a chap with me at the moment. He's in the age group.
To be able to go out and someone says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing so-and-so." I'm working. It's better than saying, "I'm on the dole."
Okay, fine. Right, thank you. Good afternoon. Yeah, the employer out there reckons that normally perhaps you may have been quite suited. What's really beating you, Bruce, there is the experience. Something may come up that may be more suited to your requirements.
Okay.
All right. Good luck with it anyway, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. It makes you feel lower than the person you are. Like when I first filled out an insurance policy and it had occupation, and to write unemployed, that's the first time I've had to do that. And I could have cried. I felt it's the first time I've ever had to feel anything like that.
I was a bit worried that we might lose the house after waiting so long for it. And I just didn't know how we were going to cope with the house payments and all the bills and things and keep going. They're old enough to know that we are struggling, that we don't have as much money, that they can't have everything that the kid down the road has. There's got to be allowances made, that they can't just have anything.
Well, even though I've got the time on my hands, the money isn't there. You just can't do anything. Before, when you had the money, it was a matter of no time. But now you've got all the time, there's no money.
Oh, they used to be really proud, I think, of what their father did, because he did something different to what other kids' fathers did, you know. They used to like going down and watching him blow the glass. They even had a go themselves, you know, which didn't work out real well, but... and they were very proud of what he did, of the things that he made in the house. If people would come, they would say, "Oh, you know, my dad made this." And they were very disappointed when he wasn't going to be doing that anymore.
I'm proud of the things I have made. I had an opportunity to create things that other people haven't.
When they first found out that Bruce had lost his job, they sort of, you know, everybody said, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry to hear about it." And they sort of said, "Oh, well, you probably start having problems with your marriage now." And I said, "Oh, why?" And I said, "Oh, well, underfoot all the time, you know, and being in the house all the time." But we more or less make it so that we aren't in one another's pockets all day, all night sort of thing. And we haven't had any problems yet.
I feel very sorry for anyone that's unemployed nowadays, because they haven't got nothing to look forward to. You can't socialise, you can't do nothing in your yard. You're just blank. It's though you're at a stopped purpose sort of thing. You can't do nothing, you can't go nowhere.
You're more or less just existing. You aren't living, you know.
That's
you're
right.
just existing, and that's all.
It feels like a plastic or something, doesn't it? I mean, like glass.
It is glass, but
it is glass.
or is it thin?
There's hardly any glass in it at all. But that's what everything's like now, coming from overseas. There's no glass in it. You only got to touch it and it breaks.
Just don't get the finish of hand-blown glass.
I don't think the quality's anywhere near as what we used to make.
No. You couldn't sell that. We wouldn't even be allowed to put that in the Lear. It's got all
That'll get
speck
thrown
marks through it.
Yeah, get thrown in the garbage.
So we've got to make sure we go and see those people.
Actually, I think we've got the first two.
The feasibility study is moving slowly, but unlike most unemployed, they've got positive thoughts to pursue, like checking current prices and seeing what's already on the market.
So if a very successful multinational company can't produce these products at a profit, why do you think you can?
Well, a very large multinational company is in a very large factory situation. They're employing about 200 people with all their overheads and what have you. We're just trying to get jobs for 11 or 12 people. So we can cut the price down so that we just make enough to survive, plus increase in later years.
And now you're thinking like a businessman. Marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Overheads.
Yeah, we had to work it all, go right through the whole exercise.
Could you have thought like this 12 months ago?
No, I don't think so. It's broadened my whole life. Just to be able to walk in somewhere and talk to people would have been a bit of a, very hard to do, even 4 or 5 months ago. But now I find I'm able to walk into managers' offices or to see councillors or members of the state government. It doesn't worry me.
Phil, where will you be in 12 months' time?
Hopefully, I hope we have the biggest glass manufacturing factory in Australia.
Guess what? We forgot his mouth.
If I was to go out to a crowd and someone asked you, what do you do for a living? Well, I can't say I'm a glass blower. One day I spent all day looking for a job, and I come back home and I just said, I'm going up the road. I stayed up there for a couple of hours at the RSL at Shortland. And then one of the barmen said to me, he said, Tony, he said, why don't you fill out a job? He said, for a casual barman's job. And I was fortunate enough to get a couple of days a week there, which has really helps you, not money-wise. I lose money by doing it from the dole department. It's just a pride to see, even your neighbours, I think, to see that you're still working, that you're still trying to look for work, that you're not just sitting at home doing nothing.
Hi, Tony. How's you?
Oh, not bad, mate.
How's things with you? All right?
Oh, not too bad.
You got a job yet, apart from this?
Nah, just doing this casual, get $1 or so. Yeah, I've got to go over tomorrow and see, have an interview tomorrow morning, see if there's any work there.
Could be a bit of luck.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Same to you, Trent.
Good luck. Good luck to both of you.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that the unemployed were dull bludgers?
Yes, I'll be honest about it, yes. I used to think myself, geez, you must be able to get a job. You mustn't be looking very hard. And since I've been redundant, I have been to nearly every place in Newcastle after a job, which some you can't even fill out application forms. They won't even let you fill them out.
Why?
They just tell you that there's no use filling it out because we've got no work. We're laying people off, not putting them on. I was fortunate enough to get an interview as a house steward. And then 2 days later, I received a letter saying that I wasn't qualified for this job as a house steward. And a house steward is only a cleaner. And I wasn't qualified to be a cleaner because I had no experience in the job.
Would you consider leaving the area?
Oh, no, I wouldn't leave the area because we just about own what we've got. And there's no way in the world that I'm going to give it up to move, to pull my kids out of schools which they're happy in. We've got all our friends around the place. And there's no way in the world that I'm just going to pack up and go away. I'll just have to try and do something.
So you're stuck?
Yeah. I'm stuck in the place.
Could I have some of them and a high C fruit juice?
Like we can't go to the pictures and we, Chinese meals, something like that. Can't go out for them no more. We used to go every Saturday, now we only go on our birthdays and like that.
And we used to come home on payday, and we used to always, when he comes home, we used to run down the corner and say, "Where's our pay, Dad?"
You mean your pocket money?
Yeah.
Do you get pocket money now?
No, never. Then he's lost his job. If he gets another job back, we might get pocket money then.
But do you talk about Dad not having a job at school?
No.
No, not really.
Why not?
Everyone will make fun of you because their dad's got a job and we haven't. I reckon they would. They go, "Oh, your dad's had a glass blown and all that. You know, sometimes hurts you." All that kind of thing.
We like getting them and punching them.
You feel like punching them? Would you do that?
Only if they're really tormented us.
But you're worried what other kids think.
Sometimes you might lie about it or something and just say,
Yeah, right.
"Yeah, we get a couple of dollars," something like that, just to keep up with them and that.
Yeah.
So they ain't tease you and all that.
So you'd rather tell a lie about it?
Yeah.
Get teased.
Yeah.
Get teased. What would be the biggest difference to your lives if your dad had a job again?
Be happier.
Yeah.
He'll be happier.
Yeah. Mum will be happier. The family, probably.
And the people that buy big swans about that big, brightens up their room more. And plus there won't be as much got swans and everything like that as there used to be if they don't open it up.
What do you think about your dad and his friends getting this co-op together? Are you confident about it? Do you think they can do it?
And I just shouldn't have closed it down in the first place. I just think they will. They've got a good chance in any case, because just the things they've made, they'd impress anyone.
Now, if this co-op doesn't work, what's going to happen then?
Don't know. Just hope everyone that's been hoping on this kind of thing, on this co-op to work, have to find a job, and if they don't, they're just going to have to just keep on trying and trying till they do.
Get a job at last.
I'll just blow through a little bit. Right, come over here.
The co-op for at least 11 blokes would have been redundant. It's going to be our turning point back to happiness, to work.
Right. That'll do. How's that one? Gas comes right up the side, the other side of the house there, the other side of the building from the main road.
That suits us down to the ground.
And the prices, I don't think you get nothing better than this for the price what we've been looking for.
Not at all.
Fantastic, eh?
If you look around the back, you realise how much room there really is.
So you can leave the furnace out the back of there and work from inside out without the tank
People
being
get
in.
heat outside.
The left-hand one you could use for a decorating room. Move the staircase across a bit.
I think this would be a nice little vanity spot for tourists.
Yes, I can sit here all day and watch it work.
Yeah, pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Yep, I can see it.
Plenty of space.
It's heady stuff. It's exciting, and because they're good and because they care, you can see the pride surfacing. But they know it's still yet to happen.
Well, I think if we can't pull the glasswork co-op off, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Marie, what do you think?
I don't know what he'll do either. He's not qualified for anything. If he can't get a job as a cleaner, what can he get a job as?
Tony, if a job should come along which offered security and you got it, and about the same time the co-op did get underway, what would you do?
I would refuse the other job and go back to the co-op as a glass blower as my trade, which I enjoy doing. It's something that everybody can't learn to do, and it gives me great satisfaction to see me make good quality glass for Australia.
Oh, I agree with him going back to the co-op. Something he enjoys doing. I'd rather him be happy in his job.
Even against your feeling of insecurity?
It'd be nice to be secure, but I think he has to do what he enjoys doing.
100%?
I think so. He's got to do it for the rest of his life.
Life is now starting to hang on the feasibility study, which yet again is delayed. While Phil and Colin have been asked to provide more costing details, Tony and Bruce continued their search for a job.
Dropped and broken,
yeah? Yeah. So I was worrying about when I was unpacking some of the stuff at our place. You know, you set it on one speed. We can't go any further with the feasibility until we get the equipment off Phillips. And we can go out and get our own orders then. Or go out and price our own equipment elsewhere.
Ashtrays sound so filthy, you should call them something luscious, you know.
Yeah, they're made with optic. They'll put optics so that everyone knows what we're talking about when they come through them. But we're getting dragged out a bit now, and we've done an awful lot of running around to get all the facts and figures. And now we've got all the facts and figures. We just seem to be standing in the one spot waiting. Oh, that's pretty. Haven't made them for a while.
I had to rip that one off too.
Like I'm treading water. And it's getting very deep and very tiring. Just gets to you after a while.
Well, that's a bit of luck, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. That'll make my wife happy.
Start work Tuesday.
Yep.
And lo and behold, we have a job. Start next Tuesday. That'll make the wife happy.
I think she'll jump for joy when I go home and tell her I've got a job. So she'll be real happy too, I think.
It should do us through until the co-op starts, we hope.
Jumping for joy. And after 4 months of rejection, that's understandable. But the perspective is this. The job is for 2 weeks only. The job is loading bags of fertiliser onto trucks.
Blokes are slowly finding work temporarily to fill in until we find out about the feasibility. Just that some of them might end up with permanent temporary jobs. They'll probably be quite happy to stay where they are if they can't get the glassworks off the ground. It's not going to make it harder from my point of view, but it'll probably make it harder for me from my wife's point of view. From all the temporary jobs that we've had, I don't think I'd like to stay in any of those till we get it off the ground.
They can afford to lose a bit of weight anyway.
Yeah, that'll make them happy. Yeah.
Fertiliser and lose some weight, but the feasibility study is put back yet another 2 weeks. It's a long way from the factory floor in Newcastle to the commercial and political centre of Sydney. But Phil, Colin and Skinny are getting fed up with what they see as bureaucratic delays. So they head for the big smoke to stir things up a bit.
Nothing appears to be going as fast as we'd like it. And part of the reason we come down was to try and hurry the feasibility along so it gets set up and actually start earning money again.
Yes, we're also meeting two senior people experienced in lighting and general glassware who should be able to put us on the right track as far as the marketing side goes, what areas we should be looking at.
I hope we don't get the runaround off these people, but we'll just put our foot down and try to smart them up a bit.
The most crucial thing that we need right now is a basic costing structure on our proposed products. Until we get that, we can't even walk out the back door to talk to potential customers.
Each delay means that other manufacturers are looking elsewhere for markets instead of towards us. So that's people we could have sold glass to, we won't be able to. They'll buy from Taiwan or Singapore or wherever.
We've got to make certain that they understand that we know what we're about, that we have our own goals and aims, and and their version of what is an ideal glass establishment is not necessarily ours.
We're going to get right down to the nitty-gritty today.
Lay down the law a bit.
When it all boils down, these men have their unique skills, their courage and their determination.
Yeah, massive big building, don't it? We won't be doing stuff like that. Really
But those skills don't qualify them to negotiate the maze of commerce and government bureaucracy. They're getting frustrated and angry. But they need the support of the Co-op agency.
Oh, there it is, Cole. There's the sign, mate. In here.
This unique glass-blowing situation in Newcastle would be able to cope with the work that's needed to be done at Parliament House?
Why shouldn't it?
Fine.
Why not? It's a chicken and egg situation. You haven't got a factory to make things, and you haven't got a market to sell them to. Now, somewhere along the line, the two things have got to happen virtually coincidentally, but it is no good having a factory if you sit there, open it on Monday morning and say, here I am, mate, and then you sit around playing cards.
And that's why we said earlier, and particularly Alan, that you have to go out on a fishing expedition to see what is selling.
He's saying, you know, trust you, you know, you'll do the right thing. You won't take up much time. And yet, when we originally come in here and talked to Malcolm and Paddy, that's the idea we pushed across to them, to see all the third parties and to do the tour to see what we could sell. Now, that was in, what, late February, early March?
Yeah, and now it's
gone back to that in 2 months later.
It was at the beginning where it was agreed here that we would go that route because that was the easiest way to start. So there should be no recriminations about having gone along that route.
Hang on. We can't really go along with having that hold us up 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, so we would have been out there, would have had all the facts and figures now.
So are we getting to the stage now where we've got to get on our bike in the next week or so and guarantee all these people?
No. Look, it won't hold you up.
But
I must ask you not to run around, to run around like chickens with your heads off on this marketing thing.
It's frustrating for you. You're running around like chickens with your pockets cut off, which is the big problem.
But we're not going to find out whether this is viable until we go out and say, right, we can make a particular article for a price. Are you willing to buy? How many?
That's right.
And then we come back to you and we say, right, we've got 60,000 articles sale. Is it viable or isn't it? If it's not, we go home. We go and get other jobs.
Yeah, Phil, we're back to some extent where we started, except we know a lot more detail. I mean, the pressure's just going to get heavier and heavier until we can get to the point that we say, go ahead.
It's now 5 weeks since that meeting in Sydney, and still no word. As a group, they're still together, but they can only hope and hold on for so long. And the hardest part is not knowing.
I think, you know, it's better to do that. Well, initially I think it was very hot. And then after the
Finally, a date. A definite date has been set. The marketing survey and the final costing have been completed.
24, 26 for those two.
All right.
Left it out.
No, well,
I thought, okay. 26 down to there anyway.
Yeah.
26, 7, 28, 27, 1.
151,
gentlemen, it's the first time I've met you all, particularly here in your hometown, Newcastle. We've gone through a 3-month period of anguish and heart-searching and gained a lot of information, and on the basis of the information and advice that we've had up to now, we've decided to make a major decision, and that decision is that we believe that this cooperative is a goer, and we're going to get right behind you and make sure that you guys are going to have the commitment as we've committed ourselves. It could be 3 months, it could be 4 months, it could be 5 months, it could be 6 months. But we're far enough along and we've got enough information at this present moment to say that we are committing our total resources to make this work. And that's what I came here primarily to tell you tonight. And I would have hoped to have seen a few more happy faces here tonight on this, because this is a very big commitment on the part of our organisation.
I think they're still in a state of shock. I don't think they'll... I think they'll realise tomorrow what's really happening.
I think the biggest unhappy point of the faces is that when you say it could be still 3 to 4, 5, 6 months, when the blokes have already been off, 5.
Well, I understand that, but if you're asking me to produce a miracle, I cannot tell you whether it's going to be 3 months or 4 months. I would hope that within 3 months' time, we are beginning to start the building up of a factory operation here. And that is as much as I can say at this point of time.
I think that's why it's sort of put a damper on things, because they think it's going to be 3 months or 6 months, So I think that's why. But I would say tomorrow, that's when it'll really hit them that the answer is yes.
There's been many summits
on the last way they trickle.
OK, it was a quiet reception of good news, and indeed, the men debated for about an hour among themselves before agreeing to sign. But then they signed. And the significance of each of these signatures is that each one costs $2,000. That's the capital contribution each must make. It's a lot of money for families in such a situation, and it's still a gamble. But these 11 men have a goal. They believe in themselves, and they're having a go. And that makes for a lot of light at the end of any tunnel.
We know that it's a worldwide recession, but we also know that we had a government that promised us an awful lot of promises to do with employment that they didn't come across with. And we hope that this new government will fulfil at least that part of their promises. Because there's an awful lot of people unemployed at the moment that would sooner be working than sitting at home watching telly or whatever they're doing.
Here's to another generation of glass blowers.
Yeah.
May we prosper.
Yeah, here.
Philip, brother.
Look at the mess. Yes, we better give a toast to all the wives that have supported us for the 5 months we've been redundant, and for the next 3 to 6 months that we'll still be redundant until the factory starts. Even though it's hard putting up.
One more,
yeah.
May our marriage is in view of the distance.
Yeah.
And here's my mum.
Couldn't get along without your mum, skinny dog. Good old mum.
Robert Mitchum and Angie Dickinson star in the suspense-charged premiere of One Shoe Makes It Murder, next on 7, followed by Sweepstakes. There's top Logie Award-winning Australian drama When Sons and Daughters continues tomorrow night, as Tony ropes an alarmed Beryl into his corrupt activities. And will Wayne fool Gordon with his sympathy-grabbing act? Sons and Daughters tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, right after Ross Simon's news, here on 7.